It all started with the elevator. I had heard rumors about the abandoned St. James Hospital before. It had been shut down for years, its reputation tarnished by unsolved disappearances and stories of strange occurrences. But like most thrill seekers, I was drawn to the idea of exploring it. I wasn't scared, at least not until I stepped foot inside. The building felt eerie right away. It was quiet, too quiet. The floors creaked under my boots, the air thick with dust, and the smell of decay clung to the walls like an old secret. I made my way to the elevator on the ground floor, expecting to take the stairs, but then I noticed something strange. The elevator doors were slightly ajar, and the faint sound of a ding echoed from inside. I was certain I hadn't pressed the button, yet the elevator was waiting for me. It was too weird, too convenient. I stood there for a second, debating whether to step in. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? So I pressed the button for the top floor, and to my surprise, the elevator began its ascent with no hesitation. But something didn't feel right. As it moved, I could feel the air grow heavier, thicker, as if the walls were closing in on me. The hum of the elevator grew louder, more intense, and the lights flickered intermittently. I told myself it was nothing, maybe just a malfunction, but deep down, I knew something was off. The elevator suddenly jerked to a stop. The lights went out. I stood there, frozen, trying to catch my breath. The panic was creeping in, and then I heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible sound, a faint scraping noise, as though something was moving just behind me. I turned, but the elevator was empty. There was no one there. I could feel the hairs on my neck stand up, and my heart began to race. Then the doors opened, and I wasn't on the floor I'd selected. I was on the basement level. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't pressed the basement button, yet there I was, standing in a darkened hallway that stretched out before me. The air was thick with a musty odor, the walls cracked and peeling, revealing the underlying layers of rot. The overhead lights were dim, barely illuminating the space, and the faint glow of emergency exit signs only added to the eerie atmosphere. But what really made my skin crawl was the feeling. Something was watching me. I hesitated, considering leaving, but curiosity got the better of me. I started walking down the hallway, my footsteps echoing off the concrete floors. The place felt like it had been abandoned for decades, and yet it was unsettlingly well preserved. No graffiti, no broken windows, just a long, empty corridor with abandoned rooms on either side. I pushed open one of the doors. The room inside was filled with old, forgotten medical equipment. Dusty surgical tables, shattered glass vials, and expired IV bags. But there was something in the air, something I couldn't place. I walked further into the room, scanning every corner. That's when I saw it, a reflection. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but when I looked into the cracked mirror on the far wall, I saw a figure. It was standing behind me, not in front, but behind me, just out of my direct line of sight. I turned quickly, expecting to see someone, but the room was empty. My breath hitched in my throat as I looked back at the mirror. The figure was gone, but the reflection wasn't. There was someone standing there, someone I didn't recognize. A figure in a hospital gown, their face obscured by dark, matted hair. They didn't move, they didn't speak, but they were watching me. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. The feeling intensified. I backed away from the mirror, heart racing, and turned to leave the room. But when I stepped into the hallway, everything had changed. The walls seemed closer, the air colder. And then I heard it, a faint shuffle, like footsteps behind me. I spun around, expecting to see someone, but again, nothing, just empty space. My eyes frantically scanned the hallway, but it was as if the darkness was swallowing everything. There was no sound, no movement, just that oppressive, suffocating silence. And then the elevator doors slid open again. This time I didn't hesitate. I ran toward it, desperate to escape. But as I reached the door, the same scraping sound filled the air. I turned to look behind me, and there it was, the figure, standing in the hallway, watching me. My pulse pounded in my ears as I rushed into the elevator, slamming the door shut. The elevator descended with an almost painful slowness, and I felt a creeping sense of dread settle over me. My hands were trembling, my mind racing, but one thought consumed me. I had to get out. I had to get away from whatever was following me. But the elevator didn't stop at the ground floor. Instead, it continued, passing each floor, descending deeper and deeper into the bowels of the hospital. I watched in horror as the numbers above the door blinked, the elevator making its way into levels I had never seen on any map of the building. The darkness outside the doors grew oppressive, and the faint hum of the elevator machinery was the only sound filling the silence. It stopped abruptly on a floor that I hadn't even known existed. The doors opened. This time, I wasn't alone. The hallway stretched out before me, and the air was thick with the sound of whispers, low, almost imperceptible murmurs that seemed to come from everywhere at once. I stepped out of the elevator, my body screaming at me to turn back, but I couldn't. Something or someone was pulling me forward, and then I saw it, the figure. It wasn't just behind me anymore. It was ahead of me, standing at the end of the hallway, its back turned. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel its presence, like a dark cloud hanging over me. I took a step forward, then another. The figure didn't move, didn't turn. But then, just as I was about to speak, to ask who they were, what they wanted, the figure slowly turned around. And that was when I realized. It wasn't just following me. It was me. In a hospital gown, hair matted, eyes hollow and lifeless. A reflection of everything I had seen, everything I had felt. I backed away, stumbling toward the elevator, but the doors wouldn't open. The figure took one slow, deliberate step toward me, and I realized with chilling clarity that there was no escape. I wasn't in control anymore. The doors opened, but only for a moment. Then they slammed shut, and I was trapped. But now, I'm not sure if I ever left. Every night, I hear the sound of the elevator. It still moves on its own, and I'm still waiting.